morning, everyone. Welcome to Unleash Your Web3 technology, I'm going to call it. For those who don't know me, my name is Helena Nat. I'm the Executive Director with the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce, and it's Webinar Friday. And we've been doing this for close to 3 years. We've been doing it for the past like 25 years, but consistently to provide information on how to grow your business. And we have done things with the SBA, Small Business Administration. We've, through the years, which you've been seeing the emails, we've walked you through, how to access PPP, government contracts, how to grow your business on LinkedIn, how to, do videos on TikTok. Now we're at the next level. We have, we keep on increasing the bar, and today is about Web3. And I'll tell you something, this group, I'm going to take myself out of this. This group right here, these ladies is the future of Web3 when it comes to either blockchain or technology or IT. This is your group. This is your go-to. So you know what? You're seeing it right now. You're going to be hearing a lot about this group. And we're just so, I am so amazed to be part of this journey with them. So I am just going to turn it over right now to Joanna. And I'll just want to give you a little background on Joanna. Joanna was part of the Greater New York Chamber team about probably 4 years ago. And we have kept in contact, and I have just watched her become this amazing person when it comes to technology. And I mean, just things that I am just unaware of that will grow your business and take you into and I'm not using the right terms, take you into technology where you need to be and understanding it, because we understand, and I've gotten a lot of emails that it's confusing for businesses and they don't know, how it affects their business and how they can gauge it and incorporate these things for the growth of your business for the next couple of years. So this group right here, and I'm so glad that we're putting this together, will walk you through the simplicities of how you can, incorporate Web3 for your business. So hopefully I said that correctly, because technology is not my area of expertise. I'm all about marketing and branding people's businesses, if you know me. So Joanna, I'm going to turn it over. Amanda, Miriam, Lindsay, and of course, Joanna, thank you so much for your time on this. I think it's so important, and we have a chat going on for everyone. Put your questions in the chat. They will address it. And it is being recorded. It will be on Chamber TV. So we're really excited. So Joanna, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. And Helena, thank you so much for that warm and amazing introduction. But also thank you for giving Unleash Web3 the podium to be able to get up and help businesses understand Web3 and where to go forward. And also thank you for making me feel young, because it was actually 8 years ago, but it's been a while. It's been a while. But hey, everybody, and we're going to have Miriam share the screen right now so we can start off the presentation. But we are absolutely thrilled to present this educational webinar on what is Web3 and how you guys can unleash its potential on your specific business. So my name is Joanna, and I'm the co-chair of the Web3 committee at the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. And I'm also one of the founders of Unleash Web3. And for this webinar, we're going to make this super exciting and super impactful for all of you guys. So what we did is I brought 3 other experts in the Web3 space from Unleash Web3. So you'll hear from Amanda, Lindsay, and Miriam. And we're also going to run this webinar through the lens of 4 main categories. So first off, I'm going to define what Web3 is. Then Amanda's going to give you guys all a breakdown on Web3 security. Then we're going to go a little bit deeper. And then Lindsay's going to provide you guys insights on how you build community growth. And then on top of that, Miriam's going to give you guys an understanding of how to use Web3 to innovate your enterprise. And then the last part is I'm going to tell you guys how you guys can roll up your sleeves and start getting your business involved with the NYC drop. All right, next slide, Miriam. Perfect. So I'll start off telling you guys about what is Web3. So to really understand what Web3 is, kind of have to understand or at least have a grasp of the history of the internet and how it has evolved over time. So the first generation of the internet, that's known as Web3. And primarily it was used as a platform for just exchanging information. Static, read-only, you can access websites and a user or somebody, an audience member can simply browse content and they can access that information. Now, Web 2 is the second generation of the internet. And that is something that everybody here is very, very familiar with. And what it's basically done is introduce to us a much more interactive and dynamic web experience. So this is where the internet started getting a little fun, right? We had social media, e-commerce, we can finally buy things. Not only that, but we can actually generate content that was super easy for anybody to read. Think about the first Tumblr or the first Blogspot that any of you guys had. That was Web 2. So Web 2 was all about democratizing access to information. But not only that, but it really enabled users to be able to create and publish content. Anybody and everybody can get information with Web 2. Now we're transitioning into the next cusp of the internet, which is known as Web 3. Web 3 is not a new internet, right? It's not like everybody's going to get a brand new CD and all of a sudden download something. It's a transition, right? And it's a transition to decentralization. It's a transition to trust, and it's also a transition to privacy. So the whole goal of Web 3 is to create an internet that's much more open, it's much more transparent, and it's user-centric. So instead of everybody else owning it, you own your content and you own what you create. In Web 3, users have much more control over your personal data, right? And also your identity. But the really awesome part about Web 3 that gets me really excited as a revenue growth strategist is that Web 3 is going to help businesses enable new business models and also generate new revenue streams. So ka-ching basically means more money, right? And this isn't just about digital art or access to non-fungible tokens. It's a little bit deeper than that. And also the most important thing that everybody here needs to kind of really understand is that Web 3 builds on the foundations of Web 1, Web 2, right? But again, it's with the aim to create a much more open and transparent internet. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you guys about blockchain. So we're going to start throwing out some terms here, right? And I'm pretty guessing, and you guys can maybe add something to the chat here. I don't know how many of you guys have heard of this term, but basically, this is a technology that has become very, very popular in recent years. But the reason it's become so popular is because of its ability or potential to transform so many businesses and different industries. So I'm going to simplify it for you guys. Simple terms, what the blockchain is it's a digital ledger of transactions, and it's distributed across a network of computers. So what I want you guys to do right now is to imagine a spreadsheet, right? Imagine a spreadsheet that's accessible to everybody in a network, right? So it's a spreadsheet that Helena is accessible to, that Miriam has access to, that anybody here has access to. But instead of it being stored in one location, it's going to be stored on every single computer on this network. So whenever somebody makes a specific change to that spreadsheet, that change is going to be recorded on every single copy of that spreadsheet on every single computer in this network. So what this basically means is information is now decentralized, right? It can't be easily changed and it can't be really deleted. And that's simply what the blockchain is. With each block in the chain, it contains information about transactions, things that have occurred back and forth on the network. And then once a block is actually added to the chain, it really can't be deleted, which is what makes blockchain very secure and something that Amanda is going to go into a lot of detail about. But the reason why blockchain is super important is because it can actually solve real world problems, right? So you can use it to store and share medical records, for example, to verify if something is authentic. And it can even do things like verify or track supply chain, right? And then Miriam, if you can switch over to the next slide. But one of the main advantages of blockchain technology is the ability to store and secure data, right? And this makes blockchain one of the most powerful pieces of technology that anybody has ever approached or even heard about. It becomes a very, very valuable tool for so many industries, and this is way beyond finance, right? And I'm just going to throw out a few examples. If anybody here has a business in the healthcare industry, right? Blockchain can be used to store and share medical records effectively, efficiently, cheaper, and much more securely, right? And this is especially important if you're storing records that are sensitive and personal. If you're a business in the art world, right? You can actually use the blockchain to verify if something is authentic, right? It's not just art, it's any valuable item. In the supply chain industry, even in an industry as antiquated as, supply chain, blockchain can be used to track goods, right? Where something is going to, where it started from, where it is ending. So it's a great tool to help prevent fraud. But overall, right, blockchain can help you do a lot of things, accomplish a lot of things. It can help you reduce costs, right? Especially if you operate globally. It can help you reduce the potential for human error just because you need this consensus. And then on top of that, the blockchain can help your business grow and expand your operations by offering more services. And that's something that Miriam is going to go a little bit more into detail too. But a big benefit of blockchain for businesses is also the fact that you can help increase efficiency in your business and also streamline processes. A lot of the business owners here really understand that a lot of business is just about mitigating risk, right? Managing operations and workflows. And blockchain is the butter that makes everything much smoother. And then not only that, and this is my favorite part about the blockchain, but it can really help you guys have a competitive advantage if you move early on this, right? So this is your opportunity to have an early mover advantage. Blockchain is getting more and more popular. It's getting more or having more and more momentum. And one of the biggest goals of Unleash Web3 is we want to bridge the gap between Web 2 and Web3 and help many more businesses that are potentially already using the technology, use it in a much more efficient way, but also helping businesses make the first step. And then I'm going to bring it to Amanda, who's going to give us a little bit of an insight into blockchain security.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda. I'm a civil rights lawyer by day, but by night, I moonlight as a Web3 security superhero anonymous. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about what is blockchain security and why you should care. So to use a big word that probably doesn't matter, blockchain security is all about securing transactions using cryptography, which is just kind of a big term for a group of randomly assigned computers all over the world must agree by consensus that every transaction that's going to be published is true. So that makes it nearly impossible to tamper with these transactions. So this security extends to individual network users, including businesses. So your ownership of digital assets, whether it's data or currency or just pictures of blockchain monkeys, it's authenticated in blocks of transactions that are published on chain. So to access any asset, two keys are required, both a public key and a private key. But unlike a password, think of it like a safety deposit box at the bank. So you need both your personal private key as well as the banker's key simultaneously to unlock the asset. It makes it a lot more difficult to hack. But unlike in our example of the bank where your assets are stored in the vault, and let's say, for example, they might not be accessible to you on a Sunday when the bank is closed. But with blockchain assets that are stored in your personal custody, kind of like the wad of cash that you store under your mattress, for some of us that are worried a little bit about maybe a zombie apocalypse, your blockchain cash is available to you at any moment's notice because you're self-custodying the asset. So you're not relying on anyone else, which is a really cool feature about it. Next slide. So to talk a little bit about smart contracts, as a lawyer, I can tell you part of the smart contract history that's still a little hotly debated is whether these are actually legally enforceable contracts at all. but they are definitely smart, I can tell you. Smart contracts are what Web3 uses to get things done on the blockchain that Joanna talked about. So they are these scripted computer codes that are deployed by a user to update that blockchain ledger, the spreadsheet Joanna was talking about. I love this example. You can think of them a little bit like vending machines. So a vending machine is programmed to do only just one thing if a certain set of conditions are met. So if you put your money in and you pick a snack, the snack is going to be dispersed. It requires no human vending machine attendant man to manually select the snack, which would be one opportunity for the error. And there's no need for a second vending machine man to pop out and distribute the snack, right? Which is a second potential vector for all sorts of shenanigans. So once the vending machine has just been released into the world, you don't need to worry about it suddenly distributing old gym socks because you can see through the glass on the front and there's only snacks inside. So smart contracts allow for a new type of customer relationship. We call it a trustless one because you and your customer no longer have to trust that each other are going to perform the transaction the way you've both said that you're going to. And nobody's going to end up with old gym socks. So these smart contracts allow for a new level of security, and ironically, for what they call a trustless system, they actually build trust between you and your community. So with all this vending machine talk, you might be wondering, can I buy a smart contract? Even better, can I get one from a vending machine? No, not quite. While smart contracts are transparently published on the blockchain, unless you know what you're looking for, it's kind of just a bunch of ones and zeros. It's not a matter of just copy and pasting a smart contract. Generally, you'd work with a Web3 developer to code in the functions that you want your smart contract to accomplish using a programming language called Solidity. And you'd build out an infrastructure to deploy that smart contract onto the blockchain and provide you with the analytics that you need. As Joanna will speak about later, we're really, really excited to share a unique first of its kind smart contract that we have created that with the Chamber's infrastructure is an exciting new way for businesses to take advantage of blockchain technology to foster new, smarter relationships with customers.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. So I'm Lindsay, you guys. I am the co-founder of CoProd NFTs and the community manager at Breshna Games. And I am an epileptic ex-aerialist turned Web3 nerd. And all of that is just to say that I have a lot of experience with generating community, generating relationships, and making it so that those people who love and follow me will love and follow me despite the fact that there are other people out there to be followed. So if we talk about community and Web3, we kind of first have to just talk about like how we're viewing it before we even get into what we can do to grow it. So the first thing that we need to do is stop using the term audience. As Web2 business leaders, we have a tendency to think of our base as an audience. This is, you need to reach your audience. Who's your audience? This is a question that all of us have answered before. But it gives this implication that we're like up on this stage looking down at this mass that we're not getting a ton of feedback from. And so it's very much a one-way communication, right? And so Web3 thought leaders and business leaders have shifted their view to say not an audience, but instead a community. And that takes away the stage. It puts you down in your base, right? And now you can have this face-to-face two-way conversation. And what this does is it gets the people involved in the business, and it makes people feel like they're part of the business, even if maybe they're not. And when people feel like they're part of something, they are so much more willing to be ride or die and stick with you through everything, right? And one of the things that's really cool about Web3 and blockchain, like Amanda mentioned, there's a trustless system here. right? And so all of blockchain really allows you to be transparent in a way that is still safe, in a way that like Web3 business leaders don't have the ability to without risking information, if that makes sense, right? So it's like we are actually able to open the doors even a little bit more, let them in, build what we're doing in public, and be able to say, look, this is what we're doing. You can see exactly what we're doing. You can see the wallets that, you know, we're using, everything like that. And yet everything is entirely safe. And that is how your community is going to trust you, right? So how does that, like, what does this mean for your business? How does this help your business, right? You have all sorts of opportunities to utilize Web3 to grow that community in ways that you haven't previously, right? So you can use these different techniques to generate, you know, a very strong brand recognition and loyalty. And what I have seen as I've shifted from like a Web2 thought process to a Web3 thought process was people were significantly more likely to stick with their community, the community that had given to them over someone else, even if they really liked that other product, right? So it's like, yes, I recognize that over there, they are doing something wonderful, but that's not my community. My community is CoProd. And so I'm gonna stick with CoProd. And that's valuable, right? So it absolutely, like, it improves the way that you can look at business. It improves your customer retention. It lowers your customer acquisition costs. It reduces your marketing costs. All of these different things are able to happen just because you've let your community in a little bit more. So you can do this with all sorts of different things that I could talk about, NFTs, tokens, things like that. I'm not going to get too far into that because we don't want to overwhelm. So all you need to know is that you can use Web3 to bring the people in more. And we have a really cool way for you to do that. We're here to help in any way that you can, in any way that we can. But at the very end, Joanna will go into it even further about how you can actually drop your business discounts to a community that is now growing to be citywide. So it's very, very exciting. There's a lot of opportunity here. And Miriam will lead you in and show you how this can really innovate your business.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I feel like we're all building up to like Joanna's big surprise about the drop. So I feel bad about being in the way, but I'm the last one before you hear about the drop. But I actually want to take a little bit, I want to put myself in the shoes of a business owner, where I actually came at this with a lot of skepticism. So when I was building my business, back in 2021, which was 2 years ago, I actually was looking at Web3 with a lot of skepticism, with a lot of, hey, I don't know, again, lots of monkeys, lots of scamming, don't want to be involved. That's where I saw it from. But before I go into that, let me tell you just a little bit about myself so it puts context into my skepticism. So I come at this, I'm an economist by academic training. I've spent 15 years at the World Bank working in education policy, so kind of understanding that public policy angle. And then 8 years ago, I started my own gaming studio because I wanted to unleash the power of video games for positive behavior change. So we made games on reproductive health and financial literacy and climate change and animal welfare and all of these different social issues. And then 2 years ago, I started my own tech startup. And now we're taking that tech startup into Web3. So there's been a lot of, my career has not been linear, but over the time, we've done a few things right, because I ended up on the Forbes Next 1000 Entrepreneur list, and the Clinton Foundation was very, very kind to recognize us on the Clinton Global Initiative Honor Roll Alumni Award. So just a little bit to say, I've made mistakes, but maybe we've gotten a few things right. With that, basically, how did that happen? Okay, all right, here we go. So, I kind of wanted to, the reason I touched on that transition was because basically we went from a service-based company. So we were making games 4 people. We were a game development studio 8 years ago. And we were creating these games. And I realized that the demand for games was so much higher than how quickly we could make games, right? So video games have a huge potential for transforming how you communicate with your audience. And usually it was through marketing or training or awareness or brand awareness, whatever you wanted to do. But we realized that there's only so many video games we can create, right? So in 2021, which was right post-COVID, when the demand for interactive communication was so high, one of the things we realized was, why do we go dig for gold when we can actually build the space? Why don't we empower our users to make their own video games rather than every single organization come to us, do a procurement process, go through like the whole 3, 4, 5 months of game creation and then create a game at the end of them? Because honestly, the kinds of games they were asking for were hyper casual games, like, you know, the Super Mario run and catch, like catch all the right menstrual products and dodge everything else, or like, you know, educational games where you're matching tiles and 2 + 2 = 4. So it was basic mini video games that we were creating. And we said, you know what, Airbnb didn't go and buy hotels. They just created the tech platform to empower people to build, to leverage their own infrastructure. So that's what we did. We built Brashna.io that allows people to make their own video games without any coding or design skills. So it's like the Canva for video games. Now I can go into video games and all of that, but you know, we've been growing over the past 2 years. We've had more than 90,000 users. We've raised around 2.5 million from investors such as the local rock star Bill Ackman and his family office, Paris Hilton, and a few others. So we've had really cool support. But one of the things that we saw was, in this rapid growth, our users were able to create a game and they were able to share it, right? So they went on Brashna, they made a game, they were able to get a link and they were able to blast it out. But what Amanda, Lindsay, Joanna have been talking about was transparency, ownership, and monetization. That was lacking. So a lot of people were coming back to us and saying, hey, first of all, how do I showcase my games? I've made these games, I'm proud of them, I really want to share them. Also, how do I monetize them? And how am I able to look at the monetization system and know it and trust it and to see it publicly available? So that's where we put our thinking hats on. And we said, you know what, there's something happening here in this Web3 world. Let's look into it. And actually, fun fact, video games was the first application of NFTs back in the days when Web3 and blockchain was relatively a new concept. So we started building the idea of a Brashnaverse, which is basically a carnival themed metaverse. So you're able to walk into it just like a real life carnival, and you're able to watch other people's games and you're able to play them. So think about this idea of SimCity marries your local carnival, marries TikTok, where you're consuming content that's created by everyday people like you. Now, the cool thing about Brashnaverse, well, actually, there's a lot of cool things about Brashnaverse. It's my baby, so I think it's really, really cool. But the awesome Web3 blockchain part that's really cool about it is ownership. So first of all, everything that someone gets in the metaverse, in the carnival. So if you have your little carnival and you want your own Ferris wheel, if you go to the marketplace and you purchase a Ferris wheel, that Ferris wheel is yours. It stays with you, whether or not Brashna shuts down tomorrow, which I really hope it doesn't. But even if Brashna shuts down tomorrow, that Ferris wheel goes with you. So the ownership, the decentralized ownership, is an important part, because gaming often has received this criticism that people put a lot of time, effort, and money into these worlds, and it doesn't go with them because it's not really true ownership, it's centralized. So the first part was ownership. And then it's this idea that if we're going to monetize engagement, which a lot of businesses are doing right now, we need to have a transparent way to allow people to track that monetization, so that people aren't coming to me and saying, hey, actually, my game, I should have earned 100 rewards. I actually did 200, you know, all of this back and forth. So you're able to do that in a transparent and trustless way, which, like Amanda said, actually builds trust. So that's what we're doing as a business owner. That's how we're leveraging blockchain technology. And what Joanna said, we're still very, very early. There's only 200,000 people in Web3, but there's 5 billion people on the internet. And these 5 billion people are looking at leaders to lead the charge and mainstream blockchain technology. And the only way we're going to do that is by a complete flat learning curve. So that's what we're doing here, is onboarding the next 5 billion people into Web3 technology. And with that, I'll send it to Joanna so that she can do the big drop around the drop.
Miriam, guys, thank you so much. And speaking of flattening the learning curve, that is exactly what I am going to talk about right now. So all of us here, we love talking about Web3. We can probably do it 24 hours a day. But there is one thing that we love more than talking, and that is taking action, right? And then also helping you guys take action. So the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce is partnering with Unleash Web3 to build and develop something that we've named the NYC Drop. And DROP stands for Digital Reward Opportunities Pass. And we're using Web3 technology and building on the blockchain to give you guys a very, very unique opportunity to get your business to be able to utilize a lot of the benefits about the blockchain that I talked about in the beginning of this hour. So basically, everybody in this room can now get their business to use the blockchain in a way that will help your business grow and in a way that's going to help you guys increase your revenue stream. Now, we're doing something that nobody else has really done before because we're eliminating friction points. And if any of you guys have tried doing maybe some research on Web3 and blockchain on your own, you would have probably hit up some friction regarding understanding or how to even begin, right? And we're doing that by basically making sure that all our technology is in the background and simplifying how your customer or how a potential user accesses this. There's a learning curve, right? Like Miriam said, but we're doing the best to be able to flatten it as much as possible. So we have two big goals with the NYC Drop. The first and foremost goal is to help businesses grow, right? And the way that you can do that is you can easily now promote your products and your service exclusively via perks, discounts, and promotions to everybody that lives, works, builds, visits New York City digitally, right? And it's very, very easy to participate as well. So this isn't just B2B anymore. This is B2C and everybody else. And our second biggest goal here is to propel economic developments. New York City is still reeling, and a lot of small businesses are still feeling the effects of COVID. And this is something that might also potentially be long-term, right? And a part of solving this issue is by getting more people to spend at your businesses, having more people spend at restaurants, at museums, buying services, and being able to utilize a lot of the businesses that you guys are really growing up to. So Miriam, if you will change the next slide, I'll tell you guys a little bit about how to get involved. Very easy. You email web3@chamber.nyc. That's the starting point. So anybody that is literally in this conversation right now in this webinar should have their Gmail, their Outlook open and drafting an email to web3@chamber.nyc. We're going to respond back with a form where you're going to be able to send us your preferred discounts, right? And we can hold your hands and help you out in regards to what that discount is going to be, right? And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving all these businesses across 8 different categories in the New York City Drop. So food and beverage are going to have their own category. Health and services are going to have their own category. We're making it easy for users to be able to access these discounts. And then on April 12th, we're going to drop this NYC Drop citywide. So anybody, your family, your friends, your cousins will be able to sign up easily on the chamber website using just their email address and start accessing a lot of these discounts and perks. And the beauty of it is it's super, super easy. So that is the New York City Drop. I want you guys to all know that we are here. Both the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce and Unleash Web3 use us as resources into understanding what Web3 is and how we can help your business grow. I jotted down the emails on the bottom. So it's web3@chamber.nyc or hello@unleashweb3.xyz. And I want to thank you guys for your time. And we're just going to open up the floor, if it's okay with Helena, for any questions.
Sure. Amazing information, everyone. I learned so much. Hopefully everyone was just taking it in, because this is being recorded, so you can always go back to it. And I think They will have a PowerPoint presentation for me. If, as long as you RSVP'd online and it wasn't referred over, you will get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. So they are taking questions in the chat. So put your questions in the chat. And we are very, very excited to launch the Drop 3. Listen to me. The Digital Rewards Opportunity Program. Now, what the goal of this is for you to grow your business. That's why we talked about Web3 and how to grow your business, and for this phenomenal team to give you pointers on where technology actually is going. And it's going to be digital. And I'm learning that. So, you know, the Greater New York Chamber represents over 30,000 different business and civic leaders. We want to incorporate that type of information and get, you know, B2B back in, but it's going to be digitally. So can I say that? Like, does that sound correct, ladies?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay. So put that in the chat. And then also you know, the Web3 email address, you know, by the way, I don't think I mentioned, Joanna is the co-chair of our IT technology actually it's the Web3 IT technology committee with the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. So if you ever need a one-on-one with her, you know what, just email web3@chamber.nyc, and you can also meet this amazing group here of Unleash. Any questions? Just pop it in. Okay. Joanna, it says, are semantics a barrier? Oh, good questions. Are semantics a barrier to Web3 growth? It seems like a lot of people are concerned about Web3 because the first things they think of are crypto, NFT, bubbles, and FTX. I had this, they'll answer this, but I did have this question. You know, we talked about this a lot, Joanna and I, and the team at Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. So good question. Who wants to take that?
I can take that one. That's a really great question. Web3 has gotten some not so great press in the recent past. But one of the things that we believe is really important to mainstream adoption is not making the tech forefront. When you are using Web3, when it actually becomes mainstream, it will be like the regular internet. People aren't going to know that they're using blockchain technology. You're not going to have to do these complicated processes to connect wallets and store seed phrases. Really what blockchain is the underlying technology. And so it's it's very difficult right now to make blockchain be in the background, because a lot of these tech companies, and we've worked with them, we've worked with a lot of them, they're not necessarily super user friendly. They're not thinking about the Web2 customer and the user experience. So it's something we have worked so hard with the drop to eliminate those barriers and completely white label the entire process. So someone that's new to the drop and just sees it, they will not know that they are using blockchain technology, because that's not really the important part. It's the utility that's delivered. And there's a lot more details that we can go into with things like, you know, FTX being separate from the blockchain. But yeah, hopefully that answers the question, unless someone wants to jump into.
Helena, if I can just add a little bit of that from a business owner perspective, I think, you know, the best way to think about it is, like Amanda said, focus on the user and the user experience. So if you think about Web2, like when we started off, we weren't going around and telling our users, hey, you know what, we're using AWS cloud storage over Microsoft cloud storage. We're simply saying your data is secure, right? So when we started building Breshna, one of the things we wanted to do was terms like connect your wallet, you know, what is your seed phrase? What is your pass key? These are things that, unfortunately, when Web3 started, Web3 lingo was very cool. So there was almost like an exclusivity to it, and it was encouraged to use a lot of Web3 lingo, put it up on your website so you could show off that you were Web3. Unfortunately, that created very high barriers around messaging. I mean, Helena, you know, branding and messaging, and that's marketing. That's something that you focus on. And one of the first rules of that is to make it accessible. You know how they say it in a way that a 5-year-old gets it. Say it in a way that your grandmother gets it. And I think one of the problems with Web3 is that they say it in a way that no one gets it, but the 5 people that you're sitting around a coffee shop with. And I think that that's something that's becoming very, very important. And we're trying to do that work through the drop, but also like, you know, companies like Presh now, like we're really focusing on how do you mainstream. We have 90,000 users, 2% of them are Web3. How are we going to transition them into Web3, the world of Web3, without making them feel like it's some really, really steep learning curve? And I think the best way to think about that is there is no Web 2 and Web 3. There's no big border that you have to pass. It's actually a very porous border. And the transition can be very, very gradual. So there's a Web 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and then you come 2.5 and 8 and 9, and then you move towards decentralization and ownership. So agreeing and building on what Amanda said, messaging is really important.
Can I don't know if I'm going to reflect in the analyze this. It's almost like, remember when debit cards first came out and people are like, oh my God, how is that going to work? That's never going to happen, because if you have a return or someone, you know, gets your card, and here we're all using debit cards or your wallet, your Apple Wallet or whatever, platform you're using. And people are like, I'm not going to do that. Someone's going to hack in. So you can kind of see the progression of that going on. And then also once it becomes not mainstream, I hate to use that word, then people are going to really accept it more and understand it more. And that's the reason why we're putting on this webinar to have the group who are listening right now to understand, the terms and what the future is going to be like for that. Let me get back to the questions. Someone asked, how does someone find out about Web3 NYC? I love Web3 NYC. Well, if they don't belong to the chamber. Well, anyone can access to access this, but I'm going to turn it over to Joanna how it's going to work on our website.
Yep. So this is twofold. So hi, Patricia. So we do have a long-term plan here, right? This isn't just, April. It's much bigger than that, right? But we're going to be front and center on the chamber.nyc website. And the chamber.nyc website is not just built for the businesses that belong to the chamber websites. The Greater New York Chamber of Commerce gets a lot of requests from people who are visiting, planning on working, planning on moving to New York City. So it has a major, huge audience. But we're also going to be excited to roll out our 12-month rollout plan, which is going to include how we're going to work closer with other channel partners and other kind of advertising opportunities as well, to kind of help broaden how big the NYC drop can be and how many people can really access it, right? So this is definitely not just to the chamber or a rewards program for anybody who belongs to the chamber. We have an entire plan and process and rolling that's going to be able to make sure that the NYC drop is accessible to anybody who visits or lives in New York City. And really excited to also announce that this is going to include, as just an example, a billboard in New York City that's going to be urging people to be able to sign up easily on their phone. And the really awesome part is, because we're eliminating a lot of the friction points, it's going to be super easy for anybody, to be able to kind of sign up and get access ASAP. So.
And it's very, very simple. You don't have to, it's not like a 2-page form. It's actually just your email address. And so everyone is going to be surprised about that. Joanna, you talked to, and Lucian, you asked about international. So it's interesting you said that, because the Greater New York Chamber, like I said, represents 30,000 different business and civic leaders, but we have a lot of groups overseas that are very active with the Greater New York Chamber. We're local, regional, national, and international. I sit on the World Trade Committee for New York City. We are hosting World Trade Week. coming up in May. We're going to have a reception on with that. So we are going to be looking to the consulates and the dignitaries and the foreign chamber of commerces outside the area that are going to promote this. And it's going to connect the, the communities, whether, like I said, you're local, regional, national, or international. So we're really excited about that. Joanna or anyone want to take the next question? People were mentioning that Starbucks is using it. Now it's a great question. With the threat of AI, will blockchain Web3 be safe? I think we talked about that in there. I think Lucian came in late, but yes, they did address that. Someone asked, do you have to be a member to get these privileges, Joanna?
Yep, so I can answer that. So yes, if you are a business that wants to be able to jump onto the NYC drop, it is open and free to any member of the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce. What's really important for us is we want everybody that signs up for the New York City drop to feel safe and secure in the businesses that are advertising in a drop. So this is a great way that we're also vetting the businesses that are coming in and making sure that nobody is at risk if they're advertising a specific promotion or perk. So yes, you do have to be a member of the Greater New York Chamber of Commerce to be able
not to sign. Let me preface that, so it might be confusing. You can get the drop, but if you want to be listed on, as and promote your services on the drop, you do need to be a member of the chamber. And exactly what Joanna said, because we want to be able to, if anyone calls us and says, there's an issue, we have that person as a member of the chamber. But anyone, a tourist, or if you are on here and you are, let's say, a student and you want access to the drop and the benefits, that is open to anyone.
Exactly. The only requirement is an email address, and that's it.
Any other questions? Good
I-
questions here.
Yeah, there's some great questions. I can hop on and talk a little bit. Someone was asking about what Marie was talking about with the Starbucks thing, and that's really a great example of onboarding people into Web3 without kind of shoving it in their face that this is Web3 technology and it's a non-fungible token, it's on the blockchain. And she mentioned you can use digital assets to create loyalty programs. And that's exactly what the drop is. We're not overloading people with the tech behind it, but the NYC drop is an NFT that is being dispersed via digital wallets, but really the user is not going to need to know any of that part. That's just the background technology. So it's a great use case. And someone asked, what is a DAO Web3 DEI? And I love this question because I work in civil rights. So DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Marie, I looked up your business on Twitter, and it's amazing what you are doing. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion is so important, and getting diverse perspectives into Web3 is we're all about that. And so a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, and essentially they're leveraging blockchain technology to communicate securely in a trustless fashion and use the blockchain to streamline all of those communications. It's a really awesome use case for blockchain.
And it's also important, and Joanna and I've been talking about that with the rest of the group, and we're going to be bringing it up on Tuesday. We have a quality of life in-person forum, and we have, New York City business leaders representing, state agencies, NYPD. We have the former governor of New York, David Patterson, is going to be there. We have the head of the commissioner, Kevin Kim from the New York Small Business Services. And then we have representation from the business improvement districts. We're going to be talking about how important, not only from the B2B end of, the drop is, but also public service announcements to get that information in, like Amanda was talking about, into the hands very easily. That if there is something that needs to be informed, out there, they can, provide it to us, and not to me, it's going to be going to Joanna, but for us to be able to put that information out there. So it's also another avenue of this great drop tool.
Joanna, do you want to touch on, we got a really great question. How will e-commerce businesses benefit from Web3? Because you've been working on that UI, UX for that part.
Yes, and I would have to say this is probably my favorite question, just because I'm also a revenue growth strategist that works with a lot of e-commerce businesses, right? So this is super, super important to me, kind of just in general. But it has a lot of benefits, right? So, and I don't know if you specifically are familiar with platforms such as Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, but a lot of those larger e-commerce platforms are already providing infrastructure in the background that a lot of the front-face users or purchasers don't even understand or realize what's happening. But it's basically a lot of things, from being able to process payments much more securely, being able to process payments faster, being able to secure receipts. There's a really awesome company out there that's actually being acquired by Shopify over the next couple of months, that's going to help Shopify stores or e-commerce stores in general provide actual receipts for payments that are stored on a blockchain and can forever be something that's accessed and verified, right? It has a lot of potential to be able to help with things like transactions and chargebacks, right? You can utilize the blockchain to really validate whether or not an actual item has been sent somewhere, right? And it has the potential to be able to almost eliminate chargebacks completely. Chargebacks are one of the biggest issues that e-commerce companies face with, especially ones that don't have a lot of brand recognition. So I would have to say that if you kind of look at e-commerce kind of in general, blockchain and Web3 in general is going to have, I would say, the fastest and biggest impacts short term on e-commerce more than any other business ASAP. So I'm really excited about that.
And it's so, that's exactly what the chamber wants to do, is to help, that's our mantra, help us grow your business. So this is just another way to help us grow your business, get you into the type of businesses or the type of direct clientele that will come back to your establishment. So that's what we're looking for.
Could I cut in super, super fast? There was one part of a question that I just want to make sure that we clarify, and that was, how does blockchain interface with Web3? And I just want to kind of clarify that blockchain is Web3 in the same way that HTML code and stuff are Web 1 and Web 2. Blockchain is simply one of the back-end codes that encompasses Web3. So try not to think of them as two separate things. It's like blockchain is to Web3 what social networking is to Web 2. It's just a component of it, and it's not separate.
Very interesting. Any other questions? What is that? Hold on. I don't know.
I think
what
Joanna
that
probably
is.
tried to do an emoji and it came squares, but yes, Scott, we can definitely get that over to you. Like Joanna said, if you want to send an email to one of the email addresses or even leave your email here, we can follow up with you.
Sounds great, everyone. Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to say to Amanda, Miriam, Lindsay, and Joanna, thank you so much for your time. This is so so informative, very timely, and I just think that we need to have more conversations about this, because there's always something that is that people will be learning about to help grow their business, and that's what it's all about. So thank you everyone so much for joining us today. It is being recorded. It will be on Chamber TV. If you have any questions, you can reach out to myself, Joanna is our co-chair for the Web3. So we're really excited about that. And stay tuned for more information on the drop. Joanna, do you want to close it up?
No, just very thankful for everybody's time. And if there's anything that we can kind of personally do to be able to help as many businesses as possible to be able to make the jump to Web3, reach out web3@chamber.nyc.
That's web3@chamber.nyc. That's an email. I'll put it in the chat. And you can always reach out to myself here at the chamber, and be on the lookout because drop is about to drop. And thank you so much, everyone. It's Friday. Have a great weekend. And don't forget, next Tuesday in person, it's a coffee. It's the Quality of Life Forum. And we'll keep you posted on the drop and what we're doing at our launch. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.